Hi everyone, I'm here with Becky Coles, Expedition Specialist, to talk about our isolation tips from the pros. So first off, Becky, can you give us a bit of background on yourself, please?
Hi, yeah, I'm coming here from sunny North Wales. I'm a mountaineering and climbing instructor and expedition leader, but also a montane athlete. And I go away into mountain environments a lot, leading trips and instructing people on skills in those environments, but also sometimes find myself in jungle or desert environments. And sometimes get out on some cycle tours as well. But the key thing with all of those is we're often quite self-contained and self-reliant in our teams.
Thanks, Becky. Next question. What's the hardest thing you've ever done?
I think probably some of the more high altitude mountaineering trips that I've done and remote trips. So I've climbed on peaks to over 7,000 meters. But some of the trips have also been first ascents, so mountains that haven't been climbed before. So by that nature, they are often in remote places. And I've climbed several 6,000 meter peaks that have involved that. And yeah, no one's climbed them before.
Okay, great. What's the longest period you've spent in isolation and how did you cope?
So by isolation, I am often going away with a team, and that could be a larger team, maybe with locals as well for support, or it could be just one other person. And I've been away on 3-month-long trips, and sometimes I have quite good communication to the outside world, sometimes less so. But one trip does come to mind, and that's one I did with my climbing partner and my other half, and that actually went to quite a remote part of Nepal, and we didn't actually see another person or speak to another person for 2 weeks of that trip, and we weren't making phone calls out or anything like that, just a couple of texts about the weather, that was it. So yeah, that was quite unusual, where we just spoke to each other for 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah. And next, your top 3 tips on dealing with isolation.
Okay, so yeah, well, when you're with a group of people in isolation together, I'd say a really important thing is actually to give other people space, and that could be physical space if that's possible, or it could just be mental space. So giving them a chance to read a book or listen to some music uninterrupted, for example. I think that does the world of good for people. Another tip I have is regarding kind of staying healthy. And on expeditions, we're always trying to stay as healthy as possible so that we can achieve the expedition aim, but also for our own, for ourselves and our enjoyment of the trip, to be honest. So it's usually fighting against stomach bugs and making sure that don't get stomach bugs. So I've been preaching for decades about and teaching about hand washing and not touching face and all that side of things that people will be quite familiar with now. So there's that aspect, but also staying healthy physically and mentally. I think it's really important that we get exercise, good food and sleep. So those 3 things. And exercise on expeditions clearly isn't an issue. We get that every day, but and it's more about preventing injury in that case. But food is really important, not only as fuel and keeping our bodies going, but also for morale. Actually, varied food, good healthy food, really keeps people mentally healthy as well, I believe. And the third thing that people often miss is how important sleep is. And our bodies can't function very well at all without good sleep, and certainly our minds can't. So yeah, getting a good sleep routine and making sure that you have enough hours sleep each night. And one thing that does really interrupt people's sleep can be anxiety and worry. And I'm pretty good at sleep. It's one of my strengths. But I know before a summit day on a mountain, I actually can get quite anxious, or I'm thinking about all the possibilities of all the different things that could happen that day. And I often won't sleep very well. And I used to get worried about that, and it can be a cycle then of worry, then not being able to sleep, and then worrying about not being able to sleep. So now I know that I probably won't sleep very well before a summit day, and I'm okay with that. That's okay. I'm resting. I can be peaceful and resting, and I know now that I can actually perform okay without one night's poor sleep is not going to affect me. So yeah, get a good sleep routine. I would definitely say that that's really important.
Okay, great. No, thank you for that. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, there was one other thing that I thought I'd add, and that was I've sort of drawn on a lot of the similarities maybe between our situation now and mountain expeditions. However, there is one really big difference, and that is on all the trips I've gone on, give or take a few days, we've always the trips ended and we've come home when we were supposed to, bar a few travel hiccups or delays, and you know what you're aiming for and the finish line as such. But this situation is very different because we don't know quite when things will get back to normal. And so I would say that is actually a really hard thing. And if people are feeling as that's really unsettling, that, I would say don't beat yourself up about that. That is actually really tricky. So yeah, be kind to yourself with that aspect of things. However, when we do get back to the mountains, and if you want to either come climbing in North Wales or get a bit of support for a future expedition, then yeah, please get in touch with me. So my business is All But Essential Travel, which has been quite relevant recently. Actually, the government's been using that a lot, so it might stick with you. Yeah, but get in touch, and I certainly can't wait to get back to the mountains.
Thanks, Becky. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much for that. Some great tips in there.
Great,
and all the best
thanks.
for your next expedition.